Why all the hate for Laura Horvath and Jeff Adler? We're going to talk about that next.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me.
What's going on, everybody? It is, as Trent Olive says, lunchtime. What's going on? We got Clock, we got Ken, we got Vicky, Trained Olive, we got Corey Leonard in the house. What is going on, everybody? What a day, man. Meetings all freaking morning. I hate meetings. I know I've said it on here a million times. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. I think we could get so much more accomplished if we didn't have the meetings. So yeah. Anyway, I'm here. Got another meeting at 1 o'clock, so probably not going to be a super long show today. We're going to hit a couple topics and get on out of here. But off the top, two shows I want to talk about that I've been watching. I finished one. Well, it's actually three shows. I finished two of them to where they are. I'm caught up on the third. So I'm going to start with Tulsa Kings. Been watching that since it started. Super pumped about where it's going. The villain they have for season 3, I think his name is Robert Patrick. He played the T-2000 in Terminator 2 or the T-1000. He has been so good as the villain this season on Tulsa Kings. And the turn in the subject matter has been really fascinating to me. And usually, like in seasons 1 and 2, I just kind of catch it during the week where I can. And this season is like as soon as it's available. All right, I'm back, I think. Man, StreamYard has been acting goofy today. So anyway, I think we're back. Cheryl told me she was having trouble this morning with her show too. So I think it's a StreamYard issue. So yeah, Robert Patrick, great villain. Corey Leonard says, gosh, dang. It's weird. Like I have to go out and come back into this from the studio in. What is so weird? I hope this isn't the whole show. So anyway, it's all good. Really enjoying the show. I think Stallone is better this year. I think the cast of characters are developing more than they have in previous seasons. And I would put this season up as probably their best season so far. So that is the best show I've probably seen this year so far. The other show I've been watching, there's two of them, and I'm lumping them together because of what they've done to me. And that is, I watched a show on Prime called Countdown, and it's about a bunch of misfit law enforcement agents from different entities. Some are from the FBI, some are from LAPD, some are from DEA, all over the place, and they kind of bring them together. And it's a modern version, in my opinion, of The Dirty Dozen. If you've never seen that movie, it's a bunch of misfits who are basically expendable. But they're very talented at what they do, but they're brought together and the government doesn't really care what happens to them. So I watched the show Countdown. There's a nuclear bomb in LA somewhere. It's going to go off, and the season is trying to figure out who it is, what their intentions are. Can they find it? Can they dismantle it before it blows up in LA? And it's awesome. It sucked me in right away. I was there for it. It's a 13 episode season. At episode 10, they solve the nuclear bomb thing, and then you move on to a second story. 3 episodes into that, the 13th episode, it ends with one of the main characters running away from the villain, and the villain has her in his sights with the gun, and it shuts off. And it's been canceled. So I'm never going to know what happens with that second story. If you go to watch Countdown, just stop at episode 10. Stop at episode 10. Man, there's talk about, no, I do not need, oh, come on. I do not need an OSU shirt, David Reed. It appears that every time I pull up a comment or remove a comment, it is shutting my camera down. And this is frustrating. So I'm going to try to, this is a hangout show. So I'm going to try to do it without pulling up comments just to keep this going. So the second show, other than Countdown, and I highly recommend the first 10 episodes of Countdown because you will get to a conclusion. The second show I've been watching is Chad Powers. And if people don't know, there was an ESPN bit where Eli Manning went in makeup, went to Penn State, and went to the tryout disguised as another person. And he fooled the coaches and the other players. And so they've made a TV show out of it. And so that show starts off really goofy, and I didn't really care for it at first, but then it grew on me as the season went on. And at the very end, it's coming to this big climax, and total cliffhanger, and it's done for the season. And no reports whether there's going to be a season 2. And my wife is like, stop picking these shows. I'm tired of ending like this. It's ridiculous. Vindicate says Designated Survivor did something similar, just ended with no clue. Yeah, I know. I watched all of Designated Survivor. Loved the first couple seasons. Hated the last season. Hated it. Joseph Ramirez says House of Cards was similar. Not a great ending. So yeah. So if you're going to watch those shows, I would wait to see, if Chad Powers gets another season before watching it. And if you're going to watch Countdown, stop at episode 10. Don't go on from there. I'm anxious to see what you guys are watching. The other show I'm anxious to get into is the new season of The Diplomat, just released about a week or so ago. I've been watching that since its inception. I can't wait to see what that is. And Landman is due up in just a week or two. So those two I'm really excited about. Can't wait to see where that goes. So with this StreamYard thing doing what it's doing, I'm going to try to share my screen. We'll see what happens. Joseph Ramirez says the Newsroom was great, but they also ended abruptly. I love Newsroom. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. I said this last week. Aaron Sorkin, who wrote that show, wrote West Wing, wrote A Few Good Men, wrote Studio 60, wrote Sports Night, my favorite writer in television history. John George, I've decided to only watch shows with at least 3 seasons. Probably a safer bet. Joseph Ramirez says he's a genius. Yes, Aaron Sorkin is a genius. Holly says the only new thing I've watched lately is a great British baking show. Never watched it. Kenneth DeLapp, I just watched Terminal List spinoff on Prime. It was all right. I tried to watch the first Terminal List season, and it was so. And what I mean by dark, I'm going to say it was dark. It not necessarily the subject matter, which was a little bit dark, but the screen itself was so dark. I have too many windows in my living room, and I could not watch it if there was the sun outside. that my screen would just glare, and I could not see anything on the screen. It was just, it became unbearable, and I just had to shut it off. Joseph Ramirez, The Blacklist is a great show. I watched the first few seasons of that and enjoyed it. And then I think I just got bored with it a little bit. Or maybe life just got in the way and never really dove back in. So, all right, I'm going to try to share screen and go to the next topic. We'll see what happens with the StreamYard thing today. So, Jenny from Dense Updates shared this on her story. I'm going to try to blow this up a little bit. And it was a reply to the Rogue Invitational story list she did. And this person, Zanzaldo, Adler and Horvath winning is bad for the sport. They rarely talk to media, and when they do, they're boring as hell. One, I disagree with that, and we'll get into that in a second. And then there's a response from Kiara Santos. Word, especially the lady. And I was there the entire weekend, seating front row. All athletes without exception stopped or came to take photos with the fans right when the event finished. And then they were walking out of the competition floor. On the last day, some people asked her for a photo and she passed running, saying, I have two more events, guys. And really, everybody else had 2 more events and stopped for 20 seconds to take a photo. Why she can't? She is very arrogant, in my opinion. So first, the first comment, I don't think anybody winning is bad for the sport. It's just a different storyline. Whether you like them or not, it gives you something. It gives a different storyline as to who you want to win or not, or who you want to get knocked off the pedestal or not. And that's all that is. When I've said since I've done this show, villains are good in the sport. Well, if you don't like Adler and Horvath, they're just the villain. They're the people you want to lose. And you have to, watching sports is more than just wanting your team to win or your person to win. It also comes with, there are teams out there that you want to lose. And so that's all this is. They're just building up a resume of maybe the people that you don't want to win. I like Jeff Adler. I want him to win. Is he the most charismatic guy in interviews and stuff? Probably not. But I like him a lot as a person. He's always been kind to me. Carolyn Lambray's always been kind to me. They were one of the first people to ever come on my show. I like them a lot, and I like when he wins. As for Horvath, I think she's good for the sport. I think she's great. Is she my favorite person? Do I root for her every week? No. But I think she's great for the sport. And I'm just tired of me personally, I'm tired of the Tia story. Win with no competition. I want to see Laura and Tia go head to head and see if something comes of that. That's what I want. I want a competition for one time in the female division against Tia. That's what I want as a storyline. John George, I want Guy to lose. See, there's just as much fun and much as investment is rooting for people to lose as there is in rooting for people to win. So I don't think there is ever a bad winner of an event. It's just finding your reason to like or not like. Now, what I'm going to say about this second piece is I think this is a very unfair statement. I've been at a lot of events right off of the runway coming off the floor doing interviews. It is a very delicate thing doing those interviews and taking their time coming off the floor. And you have to read the room and you have to read the person, especially on Sunday of an event. Sunday is when it's all coming to a head. Laura has close to $300,000 on the line going into those events on Sunday. The turnaround time shortened on Sunday from Friday and Saturday. So the time to get back, time to get cooled down, time to get nourished, time to get prepped for the next event becomes shorter and shorter. There were several athletes when I was in those positions that would not do interviews on Sunday because the turnaround time was too fast and they needed to get back to the warm-up area. And I think the same can be said as for the fans and their interaction with the fans. I watched on the stream and saw Laura sign autographs. I saw Laura take selfies during the weekend when she was waiting at the finish line. So there are reasons why this is going to happen, and you have to be understanding of that. This is their job. This is where they're trying to make money, and the gaps between places in those first 10 spots is massive. Plus, she's trying to win. She was in first place. She was trying to keep the lead, and she was trying to stay focused on all that. So that's all I wanted to clear up with that. I think that's an unfair statement. I think that Laura takes a lot because people just don't like her. And that's their choice to not like her, right? But I think she is good for the sport. She does give someone for people to root against. I want her to compete so she can take on Tia, and let's see what a real competition looks like. Holly says, I like them both. They just both seem stoic and focused. John George says, agree. I don't know I didn't see when it came up. Vicky says, I respect that in the moment, but I don't like either of them, to be honest. And that's your prerogative. You don't have to like them. But I think you can understand what they're going through in that moment. I met Laura. I haven't seen her much in person just because the security at the games is so much tighter than it is at like in a regional event or a semifinal event or something like that. But she came to Columbus to do one of the open announcements, and she was awesome with the fans. She signed autographs for 45 minutes after the event with everybody, taking selfies, taking pictures. And she went around the entire outside of the perimeter of the floor and signed everybody's autograph, took pictures with everybody. So I've seen her in spots where she's done more than should be asked of a person to do that. Train Olive, the fans can't be greedy. Sometimes it's just not the right time. It's not about the fans in that scenario, and I'm a fan. I agree. And I had honestly, it's really hard for me backstage to know when to interrupt because they're in a focus, and I don't want to be the one that breaks any of that, right? Having full access at the games was really cool, but it's also very stressful because I don't want to do anything to mess with where they're at. And Lucy Campbell, we were having a talk, and she's just like, hey, if I'm on the cool down bike, it's the perfect time. And it would be cool if you knew that about every single athlete, but you just don't. You have to kind of read the room, read the body language, and try to figure out if it's the right thing. Clock. Yep. Tia and Laura, as well as the hard charging up and comers who seem to be getting closer, could make for a great women's games. We can also boo Laura at the same time. Yes. I don't care if you like Laura. I'm not here to advocate for her or to build up fans. I'm just here to give you an understanding as to where they're at. Sunday is the most stressful day. One, it's where they're competing for the finals, and then comes the drug testing too, which puts them in a different mood as well. And so it's just a different day to be dealing with all that stuff. And then if you can catch them after drug testing and they're leaving the facility, most of them are in a tremendous mood. John George, why do people still feel a need to get an autograph? What's the purpose? I think it's just a memento. I mean, I think it's shifted more to the selfie world than it is an autograph these days. But this thing I'm in, this studio I'm in, used to be a man cave, and I used to have autographed stuff everywhere. Um, and I sold it all off to get cameras to do this now. Um, so I did it because it just was a memory. It's a way to track a memory. I didn't, and I kept everything I had was at least 25 years old when I sold it, and it was for my enjoyment. And it was like a memento and showed a moment in time to snap a memory for me. Um, and then I have all these shirts are autographed behind me, by the athlete who gave them to me. So yeah, it's just a snapshot in time for me, I think. Uh, Chris Beesterfield has an autographed Walter Payton ball. You don't have to give that to me. But it was really cool, and it's cool that you showed me that on the show. Did anyone complain about Matt? Because I'm sure he was stopping for selfies. Oh, that went. I'm sure he wasn't stopping for selfies during the competition. I agree. I don't think Matt was during the competition. Matt was very focused. Um, and I'm sure people complained about him at the time, but there weren't as many media outlets as there are today. So it probably didn't get the hype it's getting today. And Matt was this likable villain. He was the anti-rich. People were looking for something different at the time. So he kind of became wildly popular initially. And I don't think people were looking to trash him. Vicky says, I get it. Or right after, even sometimes can be hard because they're out of it. I think I dislike them because they're closed off. Even on the WFP docs, they either won't or aren't very deep. I thought Laura was deeper on her WFP doc. I really enjoyed that. But we can agree to disagree. I thought, but I agree. She's very private. She doesn't let much in. So Ken Walters, why would anyone sell sports memorabilia or autographs? Yeah. Ken has made a lifetime job of that. John George, I'll get your autograph if I ever get to meet you in person. It actually devalues whatever I sign. So just know that. David Reed, the Mayhem team athletes do an amazing job of fan interaction. I think a lot of the athletes do an amazing job, but I will tell you that the tone is different on a Sunday at an event, especially like a big event where it's very, very meaningful. So Joseph Ramirez, the biggest difference is the attitude. Horvath gives off a negative vibe most of the time. I think, but that's okay. That's okay. Some people, I mean, we talked about the Tulsa Kings off the top, right? The hero in that story is a mobster who spent years and years in prison for things he had done. We root for him. We root for him, right? There are people out there that love Laura and love the attitude and love the I don't give a shit. And I'm going to take on all comers and I'm going to do what I want to do. And that's why the world is awesome, because some people love that and other people don't. And that's what makes sports great. Somewhere in here, someone said Laura's the Cowboys of CrossFit. And that's a really good analogy. I hate the Cowboys. I root against the Cowboys every single Sunday. Hate them. But there are people that are diehard lovers of the Dallas Cowboys. And that's what makes the world so awesome. Train Olive, I don't think she's negative. Maybe just more introspective or introverted. The Eastern European vibe, according to Corey Leonard. Clanda says, I hate the Cowboys, but I have Dak on my fantasy team. Yeah, me too. So I'm with you. I'm in 2 leagues this year, and I have Dak. and I hate playing him. Corey says he should drive over to Brandon Luckett's house and video himself making Brandon uncomfortable by asking him for his autograph. Yeah, there are people that hate the attention of it all. John George wants everybody to have a jazzy day. It's awesome. So the last thing I want to talk about, and I do have to run early today, and I apologize for that, is on Dave's Week in Review. It was really cool that Hiller was like right off camera. But the thing that I learned that I'm really excited about is that Hiller is staying in Korea for a little bit longer than Dave, so he can do his documentary style with Seung-Young Choi. To do this with a Korean athlete who's been a competitor at the CrossFit Games year over year. And this was a person who qualified in Europe, not Asia. She went to Europe and qualified for the games because she's good enough to do that, to get an inside look at how they train in Korea and how she does things over there, and what that culture is like in the process of this thing, I think could elevate Hiller to another level. And I'm really excited to see what the end product is, because I think Seung-Young Choi actually speaks pretty fluent English. So it'll be a great documentary into the insights of all of that and what goes on in those Asian countries for CrossFit and training for the CrossFit Games. It's been fun watching the stories of both Dave and Hiller as they visit different CrossFit gyms and how they look just like the inside of an American CrossFit gym. Just maybe some different lighting or but it's really like a rig, a mat, and barbells, weights, and dumbbells. So it's going to be fun. Corey making a pun saying that John Young Choi is his favorite Asian CrossFitter. What about, isn't it Jean Young or DeJean Young, something like that? There's one that's like really close to the same. But Seung-Young Choi was, if you remember Charlie from the show, and he hangs out in the chat periodically, he loved Seung-Young Choi back in like the 22 CrossFit Games. And so we've been following her ever since because of that. He just loved how she was. And I just think that it's going to be a really cool documentary. And I can't wait to see what he does with this, because not only do you have the life of this CrossFitter, but you have the cultural differences and all of that going on. So that's going to be fun. Can't wait for that. Aaron Frazier says Taylor is my favorite Asian CrossFitter. Abalo 87. Savan said it best. Laura's a great person, just doesn't have a great personality. I can see that. Honestly, like when she was here for the open announcement, she was so cool with the fans. She was very giving of her time. I think it's just catching her at the right moment. And I think she really grieved a lot about the Lazar death at the games in 24. And because of that, it made her very angry at a lot of things. And from that point forward, her attitude about things changed dramatically. And I saw a lighter, more carefree Laura at Rogue this year than I've seen in years past. Mike DeVito says, I have two friends that call themselves the Choi Boys. There you go. So I think that's about all I have for today. Tomorrow we will have Corey on. We'll have a little Cajun flavor to the show. Have some fun tomorrow with him. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate that. It helps the algorithm so much. Tell your friends we're here every day at 12:15 p.m. Eastern time to brighten your day a little bit. I know, Jody, I have a meeting today, so I have to cut it short. It's a one-on-one with my boss, so I cannot miss that time because I want to be able to keep doing these shows. Yeah, get us to 3K subscribers. Yeah, YouTube's doing some cleanup on the subscribers, so we've taken a little hit this week, but we're still really close to the 3K, and hopefully we can get there soon. With that, guys, love you all. Love when you're here. Love when we get to hang out. And Shanna says good luck with that. My boss is cool. I like my boss a lot, and we have one-on-one every 2 weeks. It's not that the meeting's going to be bad. I just cannot miss the start time. So with that, guys, have a great rest of your day, and we'll be back here tomorrow again for Lunch with Clydesdale. Love you all. See you then. Bye, guys.